Greetings, I'm Epictetus, and this is Epic Tech. And welcome back to my Space Engineers series. Today we are going to do a tour, because this is very likely either the last or the second to last episode that I am going to have in this series. Now, before anything else, I do need to make sure that it's very clear I am not done with Space Engineers. I'm done with this world. And it's mainly because it has just kind of gotten unwieldy. It's slowed down. I've done as much as I can to make it move faster, and it's actually working pretty well right now, but it's only going to get worse. But also, I've been having a hankering to go back and start fresh. And yes, I could go to a planet and just throw away everything I have, but there's always going to be those other things out there, and I want to do like different things with different mods, and I want to do some new things. So while I won't be continuing this exact series, and there won't be technically a season 4, there will be a new season 1. And I want you to come back for that. We're going to start first by escaping from Mars with Duckroll's Escape from Mars scenario. And then I'm going to start a new start. I haven't come up with all the details for that next one, but we will. But for right now, I want to do a complete tour of everything that I've created as much as I can and have some fun. Now, for those who have watched the series from the very beginning, might recognize this exact scene. This is where it all started. This was actually the very first place that I ever showed myself playing Space Engineers. I was standing, it's not exactly this tree, because they've changed the way that trees are generated now, but this is as close as I could find. Something along these lines. A lot's changed in this world. The graphics have gotten better. I've gotten better. I've learned a lot more about the game. Let's see if we can beat the sun. So this was my very first base. Very first thing I ever built in Space Engineers. And I didn't do this on camera. All of this was built, well, almost all of this was built before I took off. This was just kind of me learning the game for the very first time. And it was fun. I had just a pile of fun. I really enjoyed this game. And then I came back here at the beginning of season 2, which was the third season for those who aren't familiar with the way I do seasons. Season 0 was me continuing to learn the game. Season 1 was when I finally figured that I knew the game well enough, and I've continued to learn. I'm still learning. I mean, I will never stop learning. I'll never know all of it. But this was this was me figuring things out. Now, right here was a spaceship. It was actually the first ship that I had ever designed with hydrogen, and it was the first ship that I ever took out of the atmosphere. As a matter of fact, I had never played Space Engineers off of a planet, because I started after planets were introduced to the game. And so I did my best to build something that I thought could fly and get out of the gravity. And so this was the entrance up here. And I'll try and insert clips showing what that looked like. Oh, we're losing the sun. So let's go see where I went from there. I'm going to do a lot of this tour in spectator mode because, well, it would take far too long to actually do this traveling from place to place, like legitly. So we're going to do this in spectator mode. So from here, I went out of the atmosphere, and it actually worked pretty well in spite of losing one of my engines on takeoff. And when I got out of the atmosphere, I wasn't even sure where I was going to go. I looked over and saw the moon and decided I was going to go land there. Yep, there we go. That's my moon base right there. So let's bring in my body. By the way, control space. we go. So I built myself a little bit of a, well, I actually landed my original spaceship right over there-ish. Later on, I ended up tearing it down for parts because I was hurting for parts. And I built this up little by little throughout Season 0. Let's take a look inside. Oh boy. Of course, everything's shut down. I think that right there might be my only power. And it has no uranium whatsoever. Here, hide empty. Yeah, there are 69 steel plates and 20,000 ice. That's all that's left. That's funny. Oh, it looks like all the assembler upgrades are missing. I wonder why. See last episode for why. Well, I'll tell you what. I think, do I have a grinder? We don't need an airlock. That's right. I actually built my own airlock before I installed the airlock mod. Oh, here's our first little buggy. That was just a mining assistant. I would drive this out to the various mines. Oh. Why did I grind that door down to get inside? This would have been a perfectly reasonable entrance. Oh well. Not to mention the huge holes. Good grief. What happened to this poor thing? Oh, I think this is probably from strikes, from asteroid strikes. I've got those turned off. Not asteroids, meteors. I've got those turned off. So, but for a while I had them turned on. So more than likely this got hit by meteors more than once. There. We'll get rid of this door too. This was another airlock. It was fairly automated. I liked it. So this is my large miner. So yeah, this miner did a great job. We could drill right into the side of a mountain and pull out pretty much anything we needed. Entirely hydrogen-based. Large cargo bay there, or cargo container there. And then a fair amount of automation. I had automatic LCDs installed on here, as well as I think its own copy of Tim. And this, yeah, even this thing has taken some serious hits. Look at that. Good grief. Glad I turned off meteors. There wouldn't have been anything left of this base. Oh, all this armor here, this was mostly in order to not take damage while exiting. So we would drill our way in this way, and then on the way out, I didn't want to slam into the walls and stuff. So after getting all set up here, I built myself the MBT. The very first MBT stands for Mobile Base Thingy, because I'm horrible at naming things. And it had a whole mining system. As a matter of fact, we can see one of the holes it made right here, with pistons and all kinds of things. I wouldn't mind remaking something like that in the future. I probably will in the next series, because I think it would work better now. There were lots of physics issues back then. There's still physics issues, but slightly fewer. Anyway, so we took that mobile base thingy and we took off back out into space. And once I got into space, I used, for the very first time, the jump drive. And we headed toward the Mars-like planet, which I have dubbed, actually, one of the viewers dubbed the Great Dorito. So what do you say we head that direction? Now, what are the chances I'll be able to find the one thing I left behind on the Great Dorito? Actually, when I jump into my GPS, I believe, show on HUD the alien monument. And there it is. So we landed, I believe, over here in the snowfield and built a bit of a driving vehicle. So we took a little drive and we drove, I believe it was this direction. I'm trying to do all this from memory, you know. It's been a while. And there was this interesting bug that happened. It is still here. Excellent. Oh, as well as a whole bunch of meteor strikes. All right, let's bring my body over. I like walking around. So yeah, I jumped over that hill over there and came flying through the air. And I'm not exactly sure why, but when I hit this point, this was created. It was some kind of bug in the terrain generation or deformation or something. But it looks like some kind of alien monument. I couldn't create this thing if I tried. I can actually walk up one side. That's pretty cool. I don't know how it happened. I don't know that I ever will know. But it's awesome. And it's pretty much the only thing I left behind on the Martian planet. Or the Mars-like planet, whatever it is. So, there you go. That's the alien monument. Let's head off to the next place I went. We did take a short stop on the alien moon, which I drove my little buggy around on. I think it was called the Mud Wasp. That's right. I don't even have that anymore. I think it got broken at some point in time. And we took a look at this little formation here. There were spiders. I left. Then we headed down to the alien planet. And this is where things went horribly wrong. We landed on an ice lake not too far away, where I met with a lot of, let's say, hostile aliens. I don't like spiders. The funny thing is, normal, like real-world spiders, I don't have much of a problem with them. Alien spiders? No, I can't. No. So I decided to leave. But I was a little too hasty in my leaving, and I didn't make sure that the MBT's hydrogen tanks were full. So as we started to leave, lose gravity, I lost thrust, and I had to abandon the MBT as it was falling. And I ended up being able to respawn back on the trailer because the trailer and the front of the MBT are separate, and I had left the trailer up in orbit. And then I made a rescue vehicle, and we came down and found this. She's completely upside down, practically completely demolished. There's very little left that's functional, but she's still here. So I built a little bit of a monument. Here lies the wreck of the MBT Mark I. It plummeted to the ground after running out of hydrogen. Season 1, episode 26. Nice. I had forgotten what I wrote there. So yeah, we ended up kind of having to make a base here. And then I had to try and get as much out of the MBT as I could and lift it back up to the trailer, where we ended up building a second MBT, the MBT-2, the one that we still have to this day. That was when I decided it was time to head back home. And as we approached the planet Terra once again, it was quite an arduous journey coming back too. I ran into pirates and that kind of thing. And then I ended season 1 and started season 2. And at the beginning of season 2, I landed back down here on my original base. I brought down the MBT and we parked it right there. And we did some minor preparations here. I built and ultimately failed, I believe it was called the WBT, the wheeled base thingy. And we tried to use it to drive along the plains here and go get ice, and ended up crashing it. And I decided not to do that again because that just didn't work very well. Oh, we built Dopey the drone. I remember Dopey the drone. He's long gone. I think he wandered off somewhere where he wasn't supposed to. Now, Dopey the drone doped himself to death. So I decided that this little base here was nice and all, but I needed something a little bit bigger. And that's when I eyed that plateau over there. That's, of course, got a tree between me and it. And you can see that up there on the top of that plateau, we started to build the stump. Let's head over there. So we started to build this. Now, I built the original basic plans for this in a VR program called 3D Sunshine. And that was fun. And then we brought it in as a blueprint, and I had to deliver so much iron to this, I couldn't believe it. And that's when I realized that I had accidentally built most of the blueprint in heavy armor, which was not what I had intended to do. But when you're in a 3D program and you're just kind of dragging things around, it's easy to make that mistake. So, yeah. Anyway, I ended up setting this up over top of a really nice little gold mine here. Literally a gold mine. There was actually gold and iron in here. Oh, it just got suddenly very dark. Okay. And we set up a beam drill. And we're able to get a whole bunch of things that we needed. I think there was also uranium in there. I can't remember. And I slowly but surely started adding in stairs and generators, reactors, I guess, and lots of refineries and lots of assemblers. And this is the main control room here, where I set up several different scripts, including a mapping script. You can see that it's not running right now because we turned most of that off, but we put in a lot of fun stuff here. Not to mention just a beautiful view. Oh, yeah. And this little mining critter over here, this was the first flying vehicle I ever made, believe it or not. And he's capable of flying over an area and mining straight down, getting what's necessary, and then going back up again. Kind of looks like he looks like a mech, because you kind of sit here in the top there, like that. And then there's a camera down at the bottom so that you can kind of, see where you're going. And there's lights, and pretty proud of that. While we were here, we did a bunch of different interesting projects, including making an airplane, which you may have seen in the last episode, and flying it around, as well as an automatic docking system. So this right here, you press one button and the piston will extend, and as soon as it can, it'll lock into place. We made a couple of beam drill barges, basically, that we could fly around and set over a mine, and it would just drill out everything using the beam drill, and then we could set it here and it would unload and go place it back again, and worked pretty well. And then up on the top of the stump, here we've got the projection room, which you may have also seen in the last episode. Then we built the world's worst elevator, which crashed my game last episode. But it looks cool. It's fun stuff. So that's when I started thinking, you know what? I want to do something crazy. And so I came over to this ice lake over here. And I started to mine it. And I was very quiet about what I actually had planned. Because my plan was to gather a whole bunch of iron, which I did. We set up a beam drill. There was an iron deposit underneath us. It's completely empty now. I actually put a beam drill on a rotor, and the rotor turned around, and there was no turret on it. It just gathered everything it was pointed at. It was great. And I started building, actually I started designing first, a tower. This is actually the first prototype of the tower structure. And I took that as a blueprint and then figured out through several attempts how to build an elevator capable of building the tower above itself and then crawling up the tower. And so it actually, well, it did exactly that. It would build a piece of the elevator with a piece of projector inside of it. Eventually we got it so that it could actually build and build and build and build. And we built a tower from, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the first documented completely survival build of a tower from the surface of an ice lake, certainly, but from a planet all the way up into zero gravity. And we discovered some interesting things along the way. For example, somewhere along here, it's some damage. Somewhere along here, we're going to run across Midway Station, because it's about halfway up. I may have already passed it. It's pretty small now. There it is. So this is Midway Station. And so literally, this part of the tower is sitting on top of this part of the tower, connected only with... This just makes me laugh because it's hilarious. Connected only with a connector and a landing gear. And if this ever went wrong, well, it would go very wrong. So let's keep on going, because this thing just keeps on going. I remember at one point in time I ran out of iron, and I had to actually build a mining vehicle and go out to one of these asteroids and grab more iron, because it was actually closer to do that than it was to, go back down to the surface. So let's see. Have we already passed Almost Station? Nope, there it is. So this is Almost Station. Almost Station looks a lot nicer than Midway Station because it's actually a more straight connection, and I was able to put glass all the way around it and use large landing gear. But that wasn't an option for Midway Station. Midway Station and Almost Station used to be a lot larger, and I actually just a few episodes ago shrank them so that we could take the donut. But we're gonna come back to the donut. This right here is the original elevator or tower building machine. You can see that it has a whole bunch of... it used to have a lot more welders. I don't know what happened to the rest of them. I think I ran into them or something. But all these welders would weld up the projection as this thing was going up, and it would build the tower above itself, basically. And then we used thrusters to actually go, climb the tower. I thought about, and I actually tried to use wheels, didn't really work very well, so I ended up using these blocks here in order to keep it aligned with the tower as it was building. It worked pretty well. Sometimes. In general, it worked really well. It had its issues. There's no doubt about that. So we got up here, and this spot right here, we'll go ahead and bring in the body. This spot right here is where it transitions from 0.05 G. Actually, we can look at it. You can see down in the corner. It says 0.05 G. And if I walk up these stairs, it goes to 0 G. This is the moment of transition. It's not like the real world. It's a game, but it's fun to play with that. And so I built this observation area. So you can literally just walk from 0 G to 0.05 G. And you can actually jump, but it turns on your jetpack. And then you have to turn it off again, but then you flip around, and it's kind of fun. I like it anyway. So when we got to this point, I just built a platform. And then we ended Season 2. And this was the beginning of Season 3. Season 3 was all about building a base in the asteroid. I actually started off by spawning in this asteroid. This is the only creative mode feature of my game. Other than this, the only time I used creative mode was for fixing bugs, basically. I would bring back in something that was destroyed by a bug or whatnot. The chances of building a tower and hitting an asteroid are so astronomically slim that I knew that wasn't going to happen. I could build for a light year and not hit an asteroid. So I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead and spawn in my own asteroid. And I did that, and I've been building inside of this asteroid ever since. Which way is up inside this asteroid is not always clear. So you can walk along straight up along this path, but you can also walk along the wall in a lot of different places, and then walk down onto the floor, and then walk back over and do this again, which is kind of fun. I've got another beam drill here on a rotor, which was used to clear out space and gather iron as needed. And I've got a lot of interesting things around here, and I won't go through all the details of this area because not only is this the most recent season, but there's a lot of little things, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. But we can come out here, and we can see this is my B minor. I don't remember why I used that crazy name, but whatever it was, this I actually built while building the tower in order to gather iron, and then I continued using it as I needed it for more stuff. And then out here is where I've parked the MBT2, including the trailer. And that's the original trailer, by the way. That's trailer 1. It's has not changed dramatically since season 0. But the front of the MBT is dramatically different than it was. If you're curious about what mods I'm using, by the way, there is a link in the description for every episode to a collection of my mods. There we go. Next season, I will be using a completely different set of mods. There are very few that will be the same. There's a few just kind of quality of life things that I'll always use. I use contour highlight. I like it a lot better than the default highlight in the game. And easy inventory is another one that will definitely be in there. Unless Keen decides to add in one of those to the base game or something. But here we go. Here we're in the cockpit of the MBT2, or the bridge, really. And up here is the main hangar bay. There's, well, one of the Igors. I think the original first Igor I built is long gone. I do, however, know that this right here is the second Igor, and that has not changed as far as I can remember. As a matter of fact, sometimes I call him Evil Igor, because when I was building him, he killed me. So this is the trailer, and if you haven't seen the first couple of seasons, you might not know that this is completely separable. I have a couple of buttons here. I can separate the back from the front. And the trailer has things like a jump drive, which can't even be used in gravity. So, as well as, higher quantities of things like assemblers and refineries and that kind of thing. So it's not necessary to bring those down to a planet when I'm flying around. I ended up adding refineries and assemblers just because when I am down on a planet, sometimes I don't have what's necessary to get back up from the planet, and that's kind of my only option. So this MBT is a lot larger than the original, at least the front of it is. After we had built most of the asteroid base there, so I installed a whole teleporter system simply to speed up getting around. There we go. This brings me back to my control room. So there's several different things around this area, but this is the next thing we built. This is the Cobalt Club. And this is where we're going to be having a party in a few days. If you're watching this as it comes out, then this Saturday there will be a live stream starting from the Cobalt Club, but though I'm sure that the party will move. Oh, well, I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup in here. I'll do it at the beginning of the party. It'll be fine. We did all sorts of fun little things. We had a little contest for people building furniture, and so there's a bar, including a menu, which is fun to read. Feel free to pause the video and take a look. And each one of these is a reference to something in one of my series, some of them to not even space engineers, but medieval engineers or things like that. This is a fully functioning, well, I mean, as well as you can, fully functioning Dance Dance Revolution game, which I thought was pretty amazing. And over here is the DJ booth, which when turned on makes a beautiful light show and has some sounds associated, but it's not really, I mean, can't play full-on music, you know, but it's pretty cool. And then the whole system has gravity craziness to it. So there's gravity generators in there, and there's different profiles that'll let you walk on the walls or turn all the gravity upside down, all that kind of thing. It's pretty cool. As well as an entire lighting system. Up here, you can see the spotlights, and they have different modes for spinning or doing a down spotlight or that kind of thing. And then down there is the GravBot. And the GravBot is a gravity generator on a remote control robot. So it's a spherical gravity generator. So this one will let you walk on the walls, the ceiling, the floor, anywhere you want. Once I finished off the Cobalt Club, or at least got to a certain point where I wanted to start finishing things up, that's when we started working on the elevator. And thanks to Level Lord, a scripter, we were able to make this thing completely automated. SSDT, the space to surface donut thing. Now, of course, if you've been watching recent episodes, you've already seen this guy because this was the last thing I did in my series. But if this is the first episode you've seen, then you might find this interesting. There's an up and a down button, and I can hit down, and this thing will disconnect and travel all the way from here down to the planet and dock down on the ice lake. And then we can step out onto the ice lake. It's good stuff. There you go. A complete tour of my entire world from Season 0 through Season 3. But do you feel like something's missing? Yeah, I do too. Many people have requested that I blow up the tower. Either cut it off at the bottom and watch it fall, or set charges on it, run the MBT into it, all kinds of different things. I think we're going to have to do that. But since this episode is already running long, how about we do it in one more episode? We'll call it an explosive finale. It'll be the last thing we ever do in this world. Now, don't worry. I'll keep a copy from before I blow anything up. But it sure would be fun to watch that tower fall, huh? So I'll see you next time on Epic Tech.